Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing this cape cut for the first time. Let me take you through the processes I used. However much it disturbed me a lot, but I came up with it. I started with my pattern, the bust, the neck is 3 inches, then the crossback I sloped down to the arm circumference and I removed 1 inch to make the slanting, the shoulder slanting. Then the bust is 38, so 38 I had to add 8 inches on it, so that is 38 plus that, then divide by 4. I think I had add 10. Yeah, divide by 4. It depends, you can add 8 or 10. Divide by 4, then I got 12. After getting my 12, I had to slope down to the hip line to get the waist curve. Sorry, before going down, let's first complete this. So since I'm going to put if you want to put a crossback, my dear, if you want to put a crossback, just add an extra inch down. You slope down a little bit like the way I'm doing here. If you're going to cut and put that crossback, the crossback cut design. So I'm sloping down 8 inches, 7 inches, or you can slope 8 inches where you're going to find your waist, the waistline. So that's the hip line. So you curve in, coming inside 1.5 inches to make it a waist curve. Then after down it depends on the hips of the client. Your hips, that's where you're going to find the bottom part of it. So the hips, what you get, let me say, if your hips are 46, you add 10, you get 56. 56, you divide it by 4, then you get your hip measurements. Your hip measurements from the waistline, from the armpits coming to the waistline, you got 7 inches. That means from the waistline coming down, you're going to add 1 inch on 7, so that you get 8 inches where you're going to find your hips. The curve, we went with 2 inches to make the curve. Then the front neck, the back neck is 1 inch. So if you're going to cut, where you're going to find your crossback, you're going to find it on 5 inches. You can find it on 5 or less or above. It depends. Mine, I went with 5 inches. I'm not going to cut my crossback, but I'm just showing you what you can do if you want to cut. So we are going to measure where our darts are going to sit. That is the waist, that front part. You divide it by 2. It was 11, so divide by 2. That is 5.5. Those are inches. Then you can give it an extra. It can give it the inside curve. You can give it 1 inch on both sides. You can do 1 inch or less. You can do 0.5 or 1 inch. Then coming up, since it's the back, you're going to consider the line of the arms area. So you measure from the line, you measure like 3 inches coming upwards like this. Then you make that straight line coming to the center where you got your first line for the that. Then coming to the other side where you put your inch. It depends on the waist of the client. Mine, I used 1 inch. If your client has a bigger waist, you like a bigger waist, meaning like 38 and above, you can go with lesser. You can go with like half an inch. So let's go to the back part, to the front part of it, because we finished the back part. So now we are going to trace our front part, depending on the back part. The back part gives us the front part, because the hip line must be equal with the front and the back part. So let's work on the front part. First of all, we had to pull this corner, the angle. So if you didn't put an extra inch, you'd go with the first line. But since we put the extra inch, we slope down a little bit. In curve, just above, you just come like 0.5. So what I was telling you is this, since the other part we had to add an extra inch, you can as well add an extra inch on this front part so that they are equal. They give you a clear view. So now let's go to the waistline. The waistline, because we are looking for that, for the curve, that is the line for the arm. Then that is the waistline. That waistline, it helps us to get where the collar, this upper collar, the collar that comes from up coming down, where it's supposed to curve from, because to me, what I always do, it always curve from the waist. So down here you can extend 3 inches from the front part, from the original line, then you curve it. I'm using my bare hands, but if you have a ruler, the better. So you just curve it like that. That is 11 as the waistline, where it's supposed to be. That's 11. You divide it by 2 again. You divide it by 2, you get 5.5. This side I had to give it, the back I gave it 1 inch, then this side I have given it 0.5. So our line is going to come upwards, then coming to the arms area. That's the line where the armpits sit. You draw a straight line going up and down, then that coming to that extra inch. we're gonna cut that out. So if you want, you can cut them out. So after making that, I had to sketch. After making my pattern, I used it to cut out these parts. That is the back part of it. And the front part. So I'm cutting the cap. The space I left there on the shoulders, I left 1.5 in between the shoulders. Then I sloped down 6 inches from the shoulders, coming down to the front line. And that side of the armpit, what you have to do always, you make it longer so that it come out very well. You leave an armhole, a space of like 6 inches from the shoulder. Then you have to add that extra line. I didn't, this was my first time making this cape coat. So what I'm doing here, I'm trying to get the curve of the cape coat, the length of the cape. So I considered my angle for the shoulder slantings. That's where I used those angles. I used the measurements. I first measured the length of the coat, the front part. Then after, I had to use it to curve, to give me that symmetrical curve. The front part, you use 2 materials. Those are the same original materials. And the back part, you can line it. You can get a lining. Even this, you do the same. So going to the machine, sewing machine, I had to first get stiff paper on my front parts. This coat, okay, sloping down, that's what I was telling you on the cape coat. I sloped 6 inches. Then I sloped down. I'm creating the I'm creating the darts. I'm going to cut the darts on this material just in case you didn't get the other one on the draft. I'm just sketching this like very fast so that you see what I did on the sketch is the same thing I've done on this. The waistline, that is 7 inches. From the armpit going to the waistline, I sloped 7 inches. So that is the waist that gives us those curving lines. Yeah, 1 inch, 1 inch. You bring it straight to where the only curve you need is that waistline. Then the armpit, I went with 0.8 and 0.8. So you draw it coming to the waistline. This is the same thing we did on the pattern. Then you stitch that. This thing, I've never done something difficult like this. This is my first time making this cape coat, but things have not been easy. The good thing, I know how to make coats, but the cape coat, it is my first time. So let's go to the back part. Also, what we did on the back on the pattern is what we are doing here. that is the waistline. I had to make it like fold it into two. Fold into two. This is another also is a way that you can do it. Yes, that is our line, our joining line of the arm, where the armpit sit. Then you go up by 3 inches for anything. Me, I went with 3 inches, same as the pattern where I went. So here I went with 1 inch. You draw that line coming to the waist. Okay, then sloping down, you can slope like up to 6, 7. I went with 6. Then you cut out that. It will help you to stitch it easily if you cut. If you don't cut, it might get it might come like curving, not in a straight way. So then after you stitch that, both the lining and the original material, then I went ahead to stitch the shoulder slantings. No, this is the first try I made, because it's my first time doing it. The first try I made. So after stitching those shoulder slantings, I found out that I didn't have a way through to stitch my cape coat, the cape round. So I had to stitch first. I had to stitch first the cape coat, then iron it, then I opened the shoulder slantings again. Then I tried it on my mannequin to see how I'm going to do it. So here, trying it out to see how I'm going to stitch it. What I found out is stitching this, I started with the shoulder slantings of the front part combined with the back part combined with the cape coat shoulder slanting. That's what I did first. So here, trying that process. Let me say it again. I tried the shoulder slantings of both the front part and the back part. Then inside, in between them, I had to fix my cape coat, my cape part inside there. Here it might not look so clear, but that's what I did. That's the process I did. Then I had to attach. Another thing I found out when I was making this cape coat, another thing I found out was the shorter part of it, of the hand, is supposed to be on the front, not the back. And another thing that I found out making this cape coat, you first stitch the front part, you hem it and finish it, you iron it very well. Then after, you come and attach, you leave along the shoulder slantings. You don't stitch them. You leave them open like this, so that when you're bringing them together, the cape, the coat, you just stitch them around. This cape coat, I have to do it again. I have to make another one. This first one, it disturbed me a lot, but finally it came out. So adding those shoulder slantings. That is unfolding the side of the arm that has been fixed. Now after, you're going to stitch together the hip line. The hip line, that is the area after in between the armpits. That line coming from the armpit, coming to the waist, then to the hips. That is what I always call hip line. Then so guys, this is what I tried. I had to stitch here. That is an extra piece coming down on the hip line. After the hip line, the back part, that is the back part, I found some extra pieces, extra length, so I had to cut them out so that they match very well with the cape. Sorry, with the front part, yes. So you just flip and stitch from inside. So after that, what you do next, I think what you do next is ironing, then top stitching that part, ironing, and doing the rest. Guys, thank you so much for following up. Thank you so much for always checking on me. Thanks so much for the likes, for the comments, though I haven't started replying comments, but soon I will. I love you so much. Be blessed. Bye bye.